Everybody, I'm Kim,
Hey, I'm Stephen Thompson.
and this is Thompson's Reading. Thanks for joining us, guys. We want to say how much we appreciate you. You can you have your choice of any channel that you can watch. There's so many content creators out there, but the fact that you choose to spend some of your time with us is something that we really do appreciate. So we are gonna go ahead and get started. But first, I want to say like, subscribe, and share. If you like what you see, if you think you know somebody who would enjoy what we bring, please share it. Let them know all about us. Anyway, we are going to talk about several things today. We have books that we finished, we have books that we started, we have books that we plan to read for the month of July. Can you believe it is June the 30th?
I know.
Half the
Summertime.
year is over. And so we're going to go ahead and share a couple things. So I'm going to start off if that's okay. And I think I'm going to talk about the things that I have finished this year. I'm going to talk about the first three, and then I'm going to toss it on over to Steve. But I think I finished 7 or 8 physical books this month. And I believe I finished about the same amount of audiobooks, but I'll count it up and I will let you guys know. I won't talk about the audiobooks today. I will save those for later for an author spotlight or something like that. And yeah, so let me get started. So the first thing I finished early on this month, let me get the first 3 books that I finished this month. So this one was mostly read, and I might have given you a little bit about this. It is called Arsenic and Adobo. It is a Tita Rosie's Kitchen mystery by Mia uh, Manansala. And this actually, I actually got this book for in May. I started it, but I didn't get it finished for Asian American Pacific Islander month. I didn't get it finished for that, but I did finish this early in June, something like June 4th. This was like a little cozy mystery, and it was okay. So I gave this. I think I gave this just a 3 out of 5 stars. And one of the things that's cool about this book is that there's recipes. It's there's lots of recipes, and I always like when you get a little extra out of it. So I got that one done. Then right after that, I finished uh Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and this is by Farida BK Iyimide. I'm sure I didn't say that right, but this was a really good book. It is also it's I think you I don't know. I hear booktubers talking about dark academia, and I think this might qualify for that, but I'm not 100% sure. But this book is a girl who goes to a it's about a girl who goes to a boarding school after she's lost her parents, she's lost her sister, and she goes to this boarding school because you as a reader you think she's going there just because she doesn't have anything else, and so she's finally going to go to school and start the rest of her life. Of course there's lots of twists, there's a mystery almost as soon as she gets there, and it feels very like Harry Potter-esque because they all live in certain houses. The houses each have different uniforms, different aspects to their uniforms, and anyway, this was really good. Lots of representation for people of color. There's also LGBTQIA plus representation in here, and it turned out to be pretty good. I ended up reading this one just because my colleague at work is trying to get back into reading, and she wanted to, and since she wanted to, I want to encourage her, and so I said I'll read one of these books with you, and this is the one she chose. This was pretty decent. I think it's probably 3.5 stars for me though, not my genre. And then the final thing I'm going to share in this segment, y'all know I fell in love with Frederick Bachman, and we read Anxious People in my book club, and I have decided to read as much of Frederick Bachman as I can. So I read this month A Man Called Of, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. fantastic. And apparently, this was his debut novel. And it was amazing. I thoroughly loved every character. And I would say, I'm betting, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I gave this one probably 5 stars because this guy is quickly becoming one of my favorite
And also, that's a
authors.
Tom Hanks movie, right?
Yeah, they changed it to A Man Called Otto for the rest for us, and it's the exact. It's based on this. In fact, I think Anxious People has also been made into a movie or a series. So this guy is pretty amazing, super hilarious, but also very poignant, and so many things that you even learn about the human experience from this book. I highly recommend this guy. And when we talk about my TBR, you're going to see that I have yet another Frederick Bachman because I plan to read one every month until I read everything he's got. So,
All
tossing it
right.
over to
Well,
you.
hey, it's summer reading time, and don't I love reading in the summertime? I think I idolize and sometimes wish that I could just lay on the beach and read all summer long. I'm a sucker for those articles in the newspaper that talk about summer beach reads. Unfortunately, I am working most of the summer. Summer school started, but hey, we don't live too far from the beach. I can take little bits of time to read on the beach during the summer. So there you go. I can find my own time. But what I'm doing is I'm chugging along in the LA summer reading program from the library. So I have my Beanstack app here, which is beautiful. I currently have 6 books, I believe, in my Beanstack app that I'm making my way through for the summer reading program. Beanstack is really a great app to use for tracking your reading. You can gamify it and hit a timer, and then you can log your sessions. Sometimes I get obsessed with it. Sometimes I'm like, I need to have the timer when I'm reading, but then other times I'm like, it's a fun reading program, so don't get obsessed with it. So, a couple of books that I have on my Beanstack currently. This one is called The Bridge of San Luis Rey. I wanted to get a short book, and this is only about 100 pages. It's a fascinating novel. I started reading it yesterday, Friday. I started reading it. I wanted to finish it by this show, but then I'm like, I'm tired because I just submitted my first 3 chapters of my dissertation. So I'm like, I'm going to read a book over the weekend. I'm like, why? I don't have to. But I'm taking my time. Bridge of San Luis Rey. This is a wonderful book. It's a fascinating premise. It's about an accident on a bridge in Peru in the 1700s, and 5 people were killed. And this monk wants to investigate everyone's life who died in the accident to try to find if there was some sort of wisdom that God was trying to convey. The author of the story also wrote various screenplays, including one by Alfred Hitchcock that was turned into a movie, a thriller. And also this book won a Pulitzer Prize. So I look forward to sharing about it in our next video where we have our to be read finished. So I'll have to finish it. This is my TBR. Excuse me, I'm getting the acronyms down, but hopefully I'll have that finished by our next video.
Wow, that's some interesting stuff when you read about him. So I know, you guys, if you are, I don't know, American and of a certain age, you will know the play Our Town. That is a Thornton Wilder. And also, this was interesting. His book, The Matchmaker, was adapted into the musical Hello Dolly. So I'm pretty sure you guys heard of that one too. So,
yes.
Very cool.
So next one is my wife and my son for Father's Day got me great gifts. They always get me t-shirts. I love novelty t-shirts, and a gift card to Malik Books, which is a local bookstore, Black owned, in the mall here. So I went there yesterday to do a couple of things: self-care and rewarding myself for turning in my dissertation, buying a new pair of Converse All-Stars. This time I got a light blue one. Going to the bookstore to redeem my card, I got Meditations of the Heart by Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman is a civil rights icon. He was an advisor to Martin Luther King. He wrote a book called The Disinherited. Faith of the Disinherited. It's a powerful book. This is Meditations of the Heart. He actually had one of the first multiracial interfaith churches in America in
Mm.
San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
He also was one of the first African American deans of an all-white university. So Howard Thurman is a legend and an icon. This is a great book. It's all short meditations, things that you can read when you're stressed. I'm looking forward to diving into this. So, gonna give it back to my wife.
All right. So I forgot to mention a book that I read before, Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I just feel like I read this in May, but I guess I started it and finished it in June. And I read Toni Morrison's Home, and I might have mentioned that one. It was about it was a very short book about a man who is traveling back after the war to try. He left his small town in Georgia, and there was nothing going on in this small town in Georgia. He left it with two best friends to go and fight in I believe it was the Vietnam or the Korean War, and atrocities. He experienced all kind of atrocities, including the loss of his two friends. So he's completely just lost when he comes out, and he gets a message that his sister is the only person that, other than his best friends, that he really really loved was his little sister. He found out she wasn't doing great, and so this is his journey back to find his sister. And they end up landing back at home, the last place that either of them ever thought they would go back to, and it was fantastic. It was a really good book. And then I moved on and I read one easy thing, and that was Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. And this is Talia. She is the author of Color. This actually checked all the boxes, a lot of boxes for the summer reading. The library summer reading program, but I only put it down for one. I think I put it down for author of color, I think. However, this is the two main characters are Bradley and Celine. This is sort of like a friends to enemies, back to friends, and then to lovers in the sense. But it is a YA, so there's not a lot of spice. Of course, there's kissing and all of that, but it's not super graphic, which I appreciate about YA. That a lot of these, I mean, yeah, maybe you do run into YA that has a ton of spice, but overall, the ones that I have read, they keep it kosher. They keep it really, clean for the most part, but also telling you the story of this love relationship. So Bradley and Celine grew up together. Their parents knew each other. They were great friends. They go to high school. Bradley becomes super popular, and Celine is just her strong-willed, strong character, uh, crazy, weird self, where she's totally into all kind of conspiracy theories, and she's into that's what her whole TikTok. She has a TikTok channel, and all she does is talk about conspiracy theories. And Bradley becomes, a star footballer, which this is actually set in England. So when I'm saying footballer, I mean soccer. So uh, anyway, they when they get to high school and he becomes a part of the cool kids and she does not, that's when they become it's really a misunderstanding between the two of them, because he always liked her, she always liked him, and in fact by the time they get to high school, he really likes her, but she's still very angry about him sort of leaving her behind. Anyway, this is just their journey back to each other. I think what I really liked about this book is that there's all kinds of things going on in this book. This one also has LGBTQIA plus representation, because Bradley is bisexual, but they don't go a lot into that because it's really about his relationship with her. But he is, and he expresses that. The character expresses that. But the other thing that Bradley is, he has, I believe he has OCD and anxiety, and they talk a lot about that. So that's represented, and you watch Bradley kind of deal with his anxiety and his coping mechanisms, and I kind of like that. That's what I really like, that you see his process, and you see, he's in therapy. They both probably could use therapy. He's in it, and it has helped him tremendously. For example, one of the things about Bradley is that he has a problem with, having other people's, stuff around him, and so he's got anxiety about going to college, because he's like, I don't want to have to share a room with somebody. Even in his home, his parents have given him they've given him the master bedroom, because it has an ensuite bathroom, so he doesn't have to share. So they really show all of the things that goes on inside of Bradley, when it comes to his anxiety and his OCD. So I kind of like that. This was a cute, super fun, super quick book. Highly recommend. I think, I don't know, probably 4.5 stars I probably gave it, if I rated it at all. Sometimes I forget to rate. Then the last one I'm going to talk about in this segment is, finally, I read Mind of My Mind. Now, I actually read Wild Seed first, and can't remember right now. Did I finish Wild Seed in May? When did I read Wild Seed, y'all? Actually, I finished Wild Seed. Wild Seed is the first book in the Patternist series by Octavia Butler. I did that one on audio, and we'll talk about that later. We'll talk a lot more about Octavia Butler. I won't go through it. I'll just say right now that now I have read this, and I want to tell you, we're going to do a separate video, because now we've both read it, so we can have a mini book club discussion. So, but I am enjoying it, and I do plan to read. There are actually 5 books in the series. One of them is out of print, and everything that I read about it is that it is a standalone. And so I'll be reading all 4 in the Patternist series. So that's for this segment. That's it for me. I'm tossing it back to you.
All right. Well, for me, I love book recommendations from other people. So Barack Obama, Bill Gates, I always look forward to their list. Seth Godin is a blogger. He blogs every day, and he sent out a list of book recommendations. So immediately knowing me, I go to the library and I check out some of his books. Now, what I did is I checked him out on my Kindle. And one of the the fact that the Kindle, you can go to the Libby app from your library, search for your book, and then send it to your Kindle. So you have the library book on your Kindle. It's just an amazing thing. It's so convenient. Now, the only thing is that the first book that I got is called The Ministry of the Future. And this is an amazing book. It is a fiction book that reads like nonfiction. It's set in about 10, 20 years in the future. It's about an environmental crisis. It is heartbreaking to read, but it is so good. The fact of it is, though, it is over 500 pages. And when I got this from the library, you can only have it for 1 week, and then you have to give it back because it's so popular. So then I started going, well, I could cut off my Kindle from the internet, then it won't sync back. And I talked to a tech friend of mine, and he said, yeah, that will probably work. But then I felt guilty about it, so I ended up buying the book. I had read in 1 week, I'm still writing my doctorate, and I made it to chapter 50. So I read over 200 pages in a week, but I still wasn't going to finish it. So I just went on Amazon, purchased Ministry of the Future, and we're going for it. So Seth also recommended a couple other books that I did. I'm such a sucker for the library. Kim finishes a lot of books. I read a lot of books, and I probably would finish more if I just focused, which she does, but I just like to be all over the place. And I'm just always finding a book. There's library books all over the house. And I decided when we go on our vacation to Chicago that I'm not going to load up my backpack with books, but I'm going to use my Kindle. So, because I do like to go to bookstores in Chicago and buy books. So rather than overpack and overstuff and then not get to everything, I'm going to just use my Kindle. So I went to his book list. I checked out 2 more books on his list. One of them is called When Harley Was One. It's an AI book that was written about 40 years ago. And the other
Mm.
one is called A Very Nice Box. And it's a novel, it's a workplace novel. So I got those on my Kindle, which this one is great when you want to read outside or if you want to read late at night. And I just love the fact that it just syncs with the Libby app. So I check it out in the Libby app. I open up my Kindle, I download it, it's right there. It is so wonderful. Now, one thing with the Paperwhite, it doesn't look beautiful. If you go on your Kindle app on your iPhone or your iPad, it looks much prettier. But this is so easier to read off of because you can just go outside. So if I want to go to the beach, you can't read on your phone on the beach.
Mm-mm.
You can't read in your iPad on the beach. But this, very good to read on the beach.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing for this week. Hopefully in 2 weeks when we come back, I will have something finished. That's my goal.
All right. Well, I want to say that Steve actually sent me the list from Seth Godin, and this was out of the 5 books. This is the only one that I thought I might want to read, and so I'm glad he bought it because now I don't have to. And also, it says right at the top, one of Barack Obama's favorite books of the year. So you know we like Barack Obama's recommendations, and so but I'm excited to read it, and I'm glad that if Steve got through that man, you read fast because like look at these words. It's not like it's small words and he already got through that fast. This is gonna take me a while, but I think I'm glad we own it, that way I can read it. So
Yes,
yeah.
it's so good. That's why it's a fast read. Really good book.
Awesome. So my last 2 books that I completed, I finished The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Guys, this is my first Frida McFadden. And I actually got this one. I thrifted this one. I tried to take the Goodwill sticker off of it, but I think I paid like $3.99 for this. And it was in pretty good shape. It actually didn't look like anybody had really read this book when I got it. I mean, you see a little bit of wear and tear, but anyway, this is unhinged. You know, I hear booktubers talk about how sometimes they read books and they'll say it is unhinged, and I'm kind of old, so I'm like, what are they talking about? After I read this, I'm like, this is some crazy mess. This is a mystery. She is a mystery writer, and it's about a young woman who she had some trouble with her in her past and did some prison time, so it's really difficult for her to find a job. So she did find a job. She had a little car. She had done her time, got out early, and then she ends up losing the job at the coffee shop that she was working at, or it might have been a bar. I can't remember. But part of her probation is that she has a job. So she had to hurry up and find something. So she applied for the job as a housemaid of this really rich family. And there was the husband, the wife, and they had a little girl. And it was a live-in position at the time. She was living in her car, so check, that works for her. They offered a really nice salary, and she was like, okay. So she just really wanted the job, but she didn't think she was gonna get it. She thought, the lady of the house would not want her. She tried to like make herself look, for the interview, she tried to make herself look frumpy, and so that the lady wouldn't be insecure and all of that stuff. And so she gets the job, and it's crazy. The lady is crazy, seemingly, with a perfect husband. And there's all these characters that in the beginning you don't have any idea. You think one thing is going on, but eventually you find out. I will say, my bestie was reading this, and I had already owned it. So then I found out she was reading it currently. So I went ahead and pulled it out, and that's why it became a part of what I wanted to read in June. And I was on about page 90, and I told my friend, I'm like, this book is ridiculous. I'm done. I wasn't going to not read it, but I was like, this is so ridiculous. But I'm glad I'm a person who finishes, because as I kept going, uh, it turned out the twists and the turns and all of that. And I think Frida McFadden is known for that. It makes me excited to read the next one that I already own, which is called The Teacher. And so a lot of her books is like this and the that. That's the title. So I'm excited to read that. So that's one book I read, and the final book I just finished this morning. And you guys saw me haul this when we went to the um library sale. And this is James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. And this ended up being a beautifully written, I mean, of course, I mean, it's a beautifully written novel. The guy's a genius. And when I say, like, it's a classic. It was written in 1956. It was published in 1956, I should say. And he is dealing with, it's basically the main character is an American who he has an experience when he's a young guy, when he's like a young teen. He has a experience with a boy, but he puts all that in the back of his mind, and he goes on to lead his life um, as a heterosexual male until he meets Giovanni. And this is really all about David is the main character, and this is about his struggle with his sexuality. And why I think this is amazing, and this was written, in the 50s, it's not super explicit. Again, now I think these days people write very explicit, novels, and the scenes are sometimes more than I can take. And so in this book, the way James Baldwin writes, you know what's going to happen, you know what's going on, but it's not explicit. And that's what I appreciate about um, novelists from back in the day, is that they did a whole lot of showing, not telling.
Mhm.
They did a whole lot of that. Whereas I think nowadays people just do a whole lot of telling,
Mhm.
and not just sort of putting the words in and then letting you fill in the blanks, and because they had that skill, and for me, this is fully art. This guy is an artist, James Baldwin. And I think all writers are artists, but I think when I thought about this, I thought if I compared fine art to folk art, this is fine art.
Mhm.
And a lot of contemporary novels to me are more folksy. I don't know how to really explain it, because I do think people who are writing anything, they're artists. But this was amazing. This was amazing. It was a short read. Look at that, 100 and less than, it's like 169 pages. Thoroughly enjoyed it. First time I ever read any James Baldwin. Likely will do more, because even though this was short, because of who he is, it's not like I blew through it. It took me 3 days to get through it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll read this blurb and then I'll move on. If if Van Gogh was our 19th century artist saint, James Baldwin is our 20th century one. He is, it's amazing. Highly, highly recommend. Definitely a 5-star read. And that's everything I believe that I finished as far as physical books. I have several audio books that I finished, but we're gonna leave it at that.
All right. Well, that
All
was a
right.
great session. So we're looking forward to our July reads. Tomorrow's July 1st.
Yep, and I have a whole stack that I want to share with you really quickly about what I want to read. Did you have anything that you want to talk about, or should I just go for it?
No, go for it. I'm good.
All right, so I brought my stack, and I don't know how many of these I'm going to get through. I think a lot though, because we do have a vacation coming up, and so um, I think it's even one more book that I want to put on the list. But real quick, Stephen King, The Body. The reason why I picked this up is I was watching another booktuber, and they talked about this book. This is the book that the movie Stand By
Mm.
Me is based on. Had no idea, so I really want to read it. It's a short one. I can get through that. Here's my monthly Frederick Bachman. I don't know if he says it Friedrich or Frederick, but anyway, Brent Marie was here. I'm looking forward to that. Then, because we just talked about how we really like recommendations from Barack Obama, I found a list of like over 100 books that he's recommended over time. His yearly recommendations hasn't come out yet. I don't think we don't think it's come
I
out
don't
yet,
think
right?
so. Have to look it
Um,
up.
but this was on his book, and this was on his list. It's called Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I heard some people on YouTube and YouTube are talking about this book, how much they didn't like it, but I'm excited to give it a shot. Then I think I picked this one up in the hall and I just put it in because it's a short book. The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. That's on my July TBR. I don't know what it's about. I'm gonna be going in blind. I grabbed this from Goodwill. It is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I've seen the movie, and after I saw the movie, I found out that it was a book and it's actually a series. So I'm gonna read this one and then read the next one. So I think it's at least two of them. It might be more, but it's at least two in the series. Okay. Then I was gonna take a break from uh Octavia Butler in the month of July, but if I finish all this other stuff, I'm still gonna delve into Clay's Arc, which is the third book in the Patternist series. So I am going to take and read that one. That's the plan. And then I'll probably read this one first, even though I'm showing it to you last. It is Just for the Summer from Abby Jimenez. Now, this is actually a part of a series of interconnected books, but I think they each stand alone, and so I'm only going to read this one. I'm not going to put myself through trying to read all three of them, but I wanted to read something summer-y, and I know because a whole bunch of booktubers have talked about this, that this book is about two characters who both feel like they share the same curse, and that curse is that with each of them, whoever they date, after they date that person and break up with that person, that the person they broke up with finds the love of their life. And so they
Hmm.
just keep breaking up with people, and they don't ever find their person. So they meet on a what I think on a message board, and they talk about this, and they say, well, why don't we just date each other, and maybe that'll break the curse. So we will see how this all turns out. I think this will be the first one I read for the month of July, because it's decidedly the thickest one. This one in Bachman. So that's it. That is what I planned. That was I think 7 or 8 books that I have in the pile. And yeah, I'm excited that I was able to get through so many books and enjoyed really all of them. So anyway, that's it. I think that's everything, and that'll wrap it all up for this episode.
Yeah, so find time to read. Even if you can only read 5 minutes a day, reading is wonderful. It releases endorphins. You'll enjoy it. There's plenty of books out there, plenty of authors to support. So
Hmm.
check out your library, local bookstore, and go read.
And thrift if you just need to buy them. That's what I do. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, take care.
Bye bye.